walk into your trap, take over your trap.
CMO the C Mitchell checking in for Point Game Official, and I'm gonna hit you guys with a quick bird bath on some of the key takeaways for the Falcons after Week 8 victory. With the Falcons sitting at the top of the division in first place, is sole control of all the tiebreakers. The talk of the town is about how our defense is so bad and our pass rush being inept. I believe that for fans, there's more to be happy about this halfway juncture in the season. The Falcons has shown that week in and week out, we are able to capitalize on other teams' mistakes, and we're able to win. Even though Tampa Bay used their running backs out of the backfield as a mismatch, they dink and dunked us on a lot of the soft zone coverages. The Falcons still were able to get off the field in key situations. We forced Tampa Bay to throw the ball 50 times. One thing that Jimmy Lake has done well this year is he's made second half adjustments. I've given him a lot of flack about the bend but don't break style, but technically the defense only gave up 3 touchdowns. One huge positive, we have 10 turnovers already, at number 13 or 14 in the whole league for 2024. Contrast that by last season, we were only able to get 16 turnovers on the whole year. He has been putting Bates, Simmons, and AJ Terrell this year in great position to use their athleticism to be able to make plays on the ball. I don't agree with all of the soft zone, but I do like that it allows us to, read and react. And most of the time, we have been a pretty good tackling team this year. Believe it or not, another person who's been making plays, contrary to belief, is Matthew Judon. Now, I know everybody likes to talk about us not having a lot of sacks, but a huge part of us being able to do some of the things that we have done in causing even some of those turnovers has been Matthew Judon. Jimmy Lake is asking him to do things in the scheme that other players can't do, like cover the back out of the backfield. That was one of the adjustments that we made on the second half, taking away some of the underneath things that they had that they were gashing us on. And these are stats that don't, make the stat sheet. There's also times that I'm seeing Judon actually get pressure on the quarterback and he's stepping up in the pocket and going out to the other side. That's really where we need Arnold Ebiketie to really step up. I know that PFF rates him higher, but nobody understands how PFF comes up with their grading system. I don't even think that they will tell you. But when we actually look at some of the tape, Ebiketie can't cover in space the way that Judon can. And unfortunately, that takes him away from doing the sexier things that people want to see, like sacks. Another thing I want to touch on, I believe it's a misnomer that our defensive line is bad. If you look at the stats after this week, again, we forced Tampa Bay to throw the ball 50 times. Yeah, they had a good rushing average, but they weren't as effective as they were the previous week when they played us. Our defensive line at times is actually getting a push, and sometimes they're spilling it, and the linebacker, again, is not scraping over top. I believe that's going to change once we're able to get Troy Anderson back. He is our most gifted off-ball linebacker. He's not as experienced, but I believe with more playing time, he's going to evolve into a better player. The defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator went through a lot of bumps and bruises in the earlier part of the season. But I believe at this point, Zach Robinson is really getting comfortable using Kyle Pitts. This guy is probably the most dangerous tight end in the NFL. An absolute matchup nightmare. They're putting him in the slot a little bit more, and he's forcing defenses to make a decision between a linebacker and a safety. You put a linebacker on him, he's too fast. If you put a safety on him, he's still too fast for a lot of those guys, and he's still big enough and strong enough to body those guys and be able to go on about his route, making Kyle Pitts more effective even as a blocker, because instead of having linebackers on him, he's blocking safeties when you're going into your nickel formation with him as your slot. It also opens up other things in the offense because people will focus on Kyle, freeing up other players to make plays. Pitts is the number 3 tight end in yardage, and he's also in the top 5 in touchdowns for tight ends. He allows us to do so many other things. Now, if Pitts is the X factor of this offense, Bijan Robinson is the engine that drives the vehicle. There are things that Bijan can do with the ball in his hands that very few players in this league can do. He hits his top speed before you know it, and plays that would otherwise be a tackle for loss become 5, 10, 20-yard gains. I hear a lot of fans talking about Tyler Algier as our short yardage back, and it seems like the Falcons have really bought into that too on some of those key short yardage situations. But I feel like Bijan's even a better short yardage runner than Tyler Algier. All NFL touches are not the same. He stresses the defense on a key 3rd and short or a 4th and 1. He has the power to go and grind it out and get you that 1 yard or a couple of inches if you need be, but you can also fake to him, and out of the backfield, he's as deadly as anybody else in the league. league. Not very many people can cover him. Linebackers or safeties included. He even puts the jukes on cornerbacks, and he'll run those guys over, and even linebackers as well. It makes people play a lot more cautious when you have Bijan on the field than Tyler Algier. I believe that when he's out there, they just predictably know what you're going to do. The way I feel like the Falcons can most effectively use Bijan and Tyler is to use Bijan in the most key pivotal situations and use him most of the time to ice the game. But I wouldn't give Bijan less than 15 carries in the game. Maybe they got Bijan on a pitch count. Maybe there's some things that they know from behind the scenes that I don't know. So I want to give the coaches a little bit of credit. But plays like the fumble, for some reason, I just feel like Bijan is more athletic and more special of a player. Don't overthink it, man. Put the best player out there to do what you need to do. And in closing, fans were talking about how we shouldn't have paid AJ Terrell, and he's so overpaid, and he's not a top 10 cornerback. And listen, I don't care if you think he's only a top 20 cornerback. Not even the top 20 teams have a top 20 cornerback on some of them. Think about that. This is one of those guys that has all pro next to his name. Regardless of what you think about him, he plays the run good, really good against the pass. Teams don't like to throw at him. He's probably going to make all pro or Pro Bowl again this year. Guys like that are not easily replaced. AJ Terrell is one of those guys that later in his career can probably play the safety position or do things like Charles Woodson and Rod Woodson were able to do. People say he's not a ball hawk, but I think that if given more opportunities, he can do just what we saw this past game and go and snag one out of the air. I think that a lot of times we like to talk about players not making plays because we think they should just be able to do whatever they want. But a lot of times they're being asked to do specific things by their coaches. And yes, players make plays, but if you're asking players to do things that aren't as sexy, sometimes it's not going to allow them to shine through. But again, one of the things I love about this team is that we go and get that ball. Sacks are great. But again, turnovers are so much more important because you're going to get off the field a lot sooner. Falcons Bird Bath, CMO, Point Game Official. Peace.